Hello everybody, it's Specs, and today we're going to be going over my Week 9 match against the New York Aquajets. So let's just get right into it. So looking at my opponent's draft team, we got some massive threats on here. Threat number one being Zygarde. Definitely one of the strongest mons you could draft within this draft league so far. It's pretty damn good. Two amazing set of options in Dragonance and Coil. Um, and then it also gets access to two very solid moves. One of them is 1,000 Arrows. Being able to hit flying types with the ground move is really, really good. Basically, with this move, it has no real immunities, and the only resistance would probably be like grass types. So really, 1,000 Arrows you can run just by itself in most scenarios. You don't have to run any other attacking moves. You can run some other stuff as well. You know, like 1,000 Arrows, your choice of Dragonite or Coil, and then maybe the next move that we have to mention, which is Glare. So Glare is probably the best paralysis move in the game, since it's 100% accurate, unlike Thunder Wave anymore, because Thunder Wave is now 90% since Generation 7. And Glare can also paralyze ground types because it is not an electric type move. So basically, how type immunities work is that how paralysis immunity works is that since Thunder Wave is usually an electric move, ground types won't be paralyzed with it, but ground types can be paralyzed. It's just that they're immune to electric moves. So Thunder Wave won't work on it. T-Bolt won't be able to proc like a secondary effect for paralysis. But with Glare, that bypasses the type immunity effect, so Glare can still paralyze ground types. So yeah, you can run. Anyway, back to Zygarde itself. You can run Dragonance or Coil. Let's just put Dragonance here. 1,000 Arrows Glare, and then you can run Substitute. You don't even need to run, Outrage or whatever, since 1,000 Arrows is just has such good coverage overall just by itself. This makes Zygarde one of the most annoying sweepers to deal with, especially since it can support itself by paralyzing opponents, giving itself a chance to set up a sub freely in case of a full paralysis taking effect. But you don't need to run just a set. You can run Choice Band as well. Again, 1,000 Arrows is very spammable, so that's probably the main move you're going to be spamming, but it also gets access to Extreme Speed, which lets you have some nice priority. And it's also +2, so you can ignore some +1 stuff like some Prankster Mons, for example, or other like +1 priority moves like Quick Attack or Bullet Punch or stuff like that. Excuse me. You can also run Special as well. It doesn't have the best special attack stat, but it's kind of like Flygon, is that you can still run special to catch some checks or counters off guard. Draco Meteor has such high base power that special attack doesn't matter too much in that regard anyway. So yeah, special is also an option. But yeah, Zygarde's a very, very solid option. Definitely something to watch out for in the draft league. Next up, you got Jirachi with Serene Grace, and it's a pretty solid typing. It can be very, very annoying. I'm sure many of us have been flinched a lot by Jirachi's Iron Head, which with Serene Grace will give it a 60% chance to flinch every single turn. That in combination with a Body Slam, which also has a 60% chance to paralyze targets, makes it very annoying. Sets up for that very infamous Paraflinch strategy. If you want to use a more viable or a more consistent option for spreading paralysis, you can run Thunder Wave as well. But these two moves can definitely spread some hurt. Usually with this set, you probably would want to run. I can talk. Would want to run, something like Wish for healing. You can definitely run Stealth Rock as well, just to set up hazards. You can also run U-Turn on the set, just for momentum. Since Jirachi can definitely pivot into a lot of moves pretty well. Besides this, the more standard sets of Jirachi, you can definitely experiment with more offensive sets. Does get access to stuff like Calm Mind, so you can set it pretty easily there. And it's got a very wide special move pool to experiment with. Also, decent physical move pool as well if you want to try that. It gets access to, on the special side, you get access to Aura Sphere, you got Flash Cannon, Moonblast, your choice of second move. Yeah, and then on the physical side, it gets Meteor Beam. Oh, that's sick, actually. I want to see that. But yeah, on the physical side, you got access to Drain Punch, a couple of elemental punches like Fire Punch, Ice Punch. Does it get Thunder Punch? It does. Also gets T-Bolt. So yeah, pretty good there. You also got access to some gimmick stuff like Ancient Power. If you can get that 20% chance to raise all your stats by 1. definitely makes Jirachi much harder to deal with. But yeah, so Jirachi, very, very versatile. You know, it can go from wish support to like para flinching to like you can run Scarf for sure. You know, that 60% chance to flinch is very devastating, especially on a Scarf set. And then you can even experiment with setup sets and special sets. So yeah, Jirachi, very, very fun mon. Oh yeah, one more thing I forgot to mention, Doom Desire. So, you know, with OU currently being overrun by a lot of Future Sight and Teleport and stuff like that, you know, Jirachi can run its own sort of version with that, with Doom Desire and U-Turn. So can act in a similar way to Slowbro, Slow King, you know, setting up that massive hit for later, and then you turning out into a new breaker so that you can combo that breaker with Doom Desire to like do some very massive damage. So yeah, Jirachi can definitely do that as well. All right, next up we got Milotic, your basic definition of a bulky water. Definitely take hits on both sides of the spectrum, even though its physical defense is a little bit lacking in comparison to its other stats, but you know, it's fine. Marvel Scale is a very nice ability, although usually I would not rely on activating it myself. I know I said this in a different video, but I personally do not think that Flame Ward Milotic is super good, just because you're letting your Milotic, first off, you don't even have leftovers, and second off, you burn yourself, which means it's like the opportunity cost is 12%, 12.5% because you don't have leftovers and you're burning yourself. So I personally don't like Flame Ward Marvel Scale, but you know, there are maybe certain situations where maybe there isn't a lot of like hazards or chip damage that's like in play. So like maybe in those scenarios, like it would be a little bit better. But you know, again, personally, I don't like it. Just run leftovers, and then like if you get burned, okay, that's fine. But anyway, you know, a standard set would probably be something like Scald, Toxic, Recover. You can run Flip Turn for momentum. You can run Ice Beam for coverage. You can run Haze to Haze. You can run Dragon Tail for phasing as well. In terms of a physical or like any other sets, I know like Coil Milotic has seen some usage in VGC, but you know, Coil plus Hypnosis is actually kind of scary because you know, Coil does raise your accuracy by 1, and then Hypnosis, that makes Hypnosis much more reliable of a sleep move. So that could be pretty scary. But yeah, it's got offensively, honestly, its move pool is pretty trash. You basically just get to Water Ice and normal moves, especially without hidden power. Definitely sucks for it, but yeah, definitely in terms of a defensive mon, it can be pretty solid though. So yeah. Next up, we got Sylveon, a very, very solid cleric, but it can also be a very strong Pokemon on its own. You're basically going to be always using Pixelate because Cube Charm is very inconsistent, unless you know your opponent is going to be using something like Lantern, which is always male, so you can run a female for that. But anyway, so Pixelate, probably going to be your main ability. That in combination with Hyper Voice is stronger than Moonblast. You do lose out on the chance to lower special attack with Moonblast though, so keep that in mind. Usually you would just run Hyper Voice Pixelate though, and then the standard set would probably be something like Wish Protect, and then like your choice of last move. You can run Mystical Fire for coverage against steals. You can run Toxic. You can run Heal Ball for clerics support. Another set I've seen is Specs or even Scarf. Basically, you know, Sylveon's stats, you know, special attack is pretty solid, so you know, it wouldn't make too little. It would make sense to like run some sort of offensive set. You can also run Calm Mind as well in Sylveon. I forgot to mention that, but you know, I'm just gonna talk about the spec set for now. While it doesn't have all the coverage in the world, Fire plus Fairy is a pretty solid combination on its own, because basically you can hit a lot of things super effectively or neutrally except for Heatran and other Pokemon like it. But yeah, you can run Shadow Ball for some other Steel types that may be weak to Ghost. And then last move, maybe you can still run Wish even to like protect, to like you know, still provide the Wish support. You could also run Quick Attack as well. Quick Attack is also boosted by Pixelate, so even with Sylveon's 65 attack, you know, it can deal some okay damage in the right scenarios. Yeah, so Sylveon, it's kind of what it does. Next up, we got Galvantula. Pretty solid speed here at a base 108, and okay special attack. Basically, the main purpose of Galvantula is that you're going to be getting up webs with this thing. Stick Web is kind of the main drive for using Galvantula. You can probably run Specs or Life Orb as well with Thunder. You know, it has okay coverage. Thunder, Energy Ball can hit some ground types. Energy Ball or Giga Drain. And the Bug Buzz as well. Volt Switch, obviously, for conserving momentum. There might be some other sets as well, but honestly, I don't know too much about them. You can run T-Wave to spread paralysis. Yeah, I don't know. That's about it, honestly. It has a good speed tier though, and well, I should. Yeah, Combat Eyes will allow you or Thunders to be like, I think my math serves me correct, about 91% accurate. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Next up, we got Magmortar. Very strong special attacker. And it's got some decent coverage as well, especially with Gen 8's new additions, giving it Scorching Sands, which definitely allows it to cover a lot more things. Fire Ground is a very solid offensive coverage, very solid offensively. And then you can also run stuff like Powered Solar Beam, since you don't have HP Grass anymore. You can run Powered Solar Beam in order to catch some bulky waters. So yeah. You can probably run Specs. You can obviously definitely run Boots on Magmortar, since you know it's weak to rocks, which definitely helps it a lot. You might even be able to run Mix as well. Has a decent attack and stab. And it gets access to Belladrum, so that could be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it has a pretty fun offensive move pool. You can go ahead and, you know, experiment with that. Thunderbolt as well to help deal with waters as well, like Pex. But yeah, next up we got Whimsicott. Prankster is definitely the ability you should be using, being able to, you know, spread status pretty easily with both Sleep Powder and... Oh, it doesn't get Sleep Powder. Really? I could have sworn I got Sleep Powder. Anyway, but it does get Stun Spore at least, which allows it to paralyze stuff pretty well. Like with Glare, it also can bypass the ground is immune to paralysis type of thing. So yeah, it's also got energy. I mean, it's got Grass Fairy coverage. I don't know. It's not super. Well, like it's Hurricane. But yeah, you can run Stun Spore, Leech Seed in terms of utility. A Knockoff is also there as well for removing items, which obviously always very good. Switcheroo could be used to trick targets with like a choice item if you wanted to. Taunt is also really nice. Tailwind is decent. U-Turn is good for momentum. I don't know. Kind of like a good utility mon. Wouldn't be using it for offensive purposes really, but you know, decently solid. Next up we got Armaldo. One of the few mons to get both Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin, which is pretty cool. It's got a decent attacking stat too, if you were able to set up some sort of manual range. Even though it's pretty slow, you know, it still does have access to Swift Slam. It can outspeed a lot of... it can outspeed most of the meta if they don't have a choice item on it. The keyword being most, it's still very slow. But yeah, it's got decent coverage as well, and it's got Swords Dance for setup if you wanted to try that. Yeah, it's still got some good utility if you want to try that. Good knockoff as well, as what was Whimsicott. Yeah. Next up we got Glalie. Well, I can't run Moody in this draft league, thank God. So, you know, the main drive of regular Mega Glalie would probably just be Refrigerate. So, it doesn't get access to Return, unfortunately. You know, still has access to Double Edge, which is going to be super strong, coming off of Refrigerate. So you also get Earthquake to deal with some of the Steel types that might want to switch in on the Ice moves. Explosion is also an option if you want to just completely absolutely dent something really hard, at the very least. It also gets access to Freeze Dry to deal with some bulky waters as well. Its special attack is actually as high as its regular attack, so yeah. Actually, okay, never mind. Yeah, I also get access. Oh, yeah, one more thing. It gets access to Spikes now. So, well, not now. Actually, I don't remember when Glalie got access to Spikes. Was it Gen 8? I don't remember. Tell me if I'm wrong, but it does get access to Spikes. So, since it's a very offensive Pokemon, you can definitely force a lot of switches, which makes it a decent offensive spiker. I feel like I talk about this like every three like weeks, but anyway, last more notable move would probably be Ice Shard. Just having some priority would be nice to deal with some things that are faster than you. So yeah. Next up we got Hitmontop. Also another spinner, which is pretty nice, and it gets access to Intimidate and Technician, two pretty cool abilities. Technician would be nice in conjunction with something like Mach Punch, or just other low power moves like Fake Out and I don't know other things. I don't know. You can look through it yourself. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the best way to use this is. Maybe like some sort of like AV mon with a rapid spin support, or maybe some sort of like offensive one, like Life Ward or Choice Band or something like that. I don't know. Both of those could be pretty interesting. And last up, we got Swellow. Very, very solid, very, very fast mon, sitting at a base of 125. Outspeeds a lot of things like Tornado Therian, for example. I think it's speed. Yeah, speed types will be vile as well. Gets access to two pretty cool abilities, one being Gutsy or Scrappy. So with Guts, you're definitely going to be running a physical attacking set in conjunction with Flame Ward most likely. And you can run, you know, Brave Bird and some sort of a normal move. But honestly, it doesn't have a lot of coverage on the physical side. The main draw for it is honestly with Specs and Boom Burst, which it got in Generation... I think got access to Boom Burst in Generation 6 if I'm not mistaken. But base 75 special attacks at not very high, but with Boom Burst, you know, you can kind of get past that low special attack. Also with Specs as well. And it's very strong. With Scrappy, you can't switch in any ghost types to it because they're going to be doing a lot of damage. And Heat Wave provides pretty solid coverage for steel types as well. It also gives access to Hurricane, so, you know, very high base power moves coming up for it, though. You get access to U-Turn as well, which lets you, well, preserve momentum. But yeah, that's his draft league. That's his draft team overall. And then gonna go into my team. First off, Mega B. You know him, you love him. Just made my B gave it enough speed to outspeed the max speed Swallow. And just gave it a pretty standard moveset, U-Turn, Poison Jab, Knockoff. And I thought T-Specs would be nice if I could set them up. So I just put them there. Next up, we got Kyurem. I actually ran a physical Kyurem, which I hope was going to be pretty fun. You know, Dragon Dance, and then our Aaron Head for Sylveon, Icicle Spear for stab, and the Roost just for healing. Fortunately, it does get walled by stuff like Milotic and Jirachi, but I was just hoping that either you wouldn't bring them, or I would be able to get rid of them before Kyurem came on the field. Next up, we got Bronzong, Heat Proof, because Mech Mortar is kind of scary. Honestly, it could chunk my team pretty hard. I just gave it a pretty standard moveset, Stealth Rock, Gyro Ball, Earthquake, and then Reflect. Reflect is just kind of like, if I anticipate Zygarde to come in, I can get up a Reflect, and then, you know, my team could probably deal with it a little bit better and win that things up. Next up, we got Rotom. Can't remember what the speed was for, actually, but, you know, it's just pretty standard moveset. I've also tried to pump Toxic and Pain Split with lefties. Yeah, not much to say about it, really. Next up we got a Defog Lander Therian. Just kind of give it like mixed EVs and some decent speed. Okay, what is that speed for? They're both 237. What was it? sorry. Okay. They're faster than min speed, zero speed Jirachi. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Earthquake, Knockoff, U-Turn, Defog. Plus these again. And last up we got Scarf Sigilith. Yeah, my favorite. You know, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I just noticed that, you know, my Sigilith does have base 97 speed. It's faster than a +1 Zygarde. So, you know, I can definitely, like, hopefully switch in on it and then Ice Beam it to death and something like that. Got Heat Wave for Jirachi in case he brought it, and then Side Shock just for stab. Trick is just there for crippling, like maybe like Milotic if he ever came in on it. But yeah, so with that out of the way, I'm gonna get started on the battle. So let me just switch scenes, and there we go. So he did not bring Jirachi, which is great, but he did bring Milotic, so that kind of sucks for my Kyurem. And honestly, Milotic is decent against my team. I know I have a Rotom, but you know, my only way of dealing good damage to it is, well, you Volt Switching out. So that could be a problem if I'm not careful. But looking at the lead matchup, I was like, well, I think Mega B is like a very, very solid lead here. Can outspeed everything naturally, so yeah, might as well, right? So I lead Mega B against his Glalie. I'm like, well, free U-Turn, right? So I just go for that right now. I think I go into Bronzong here on the Body Slam. Oh yeah, it does get access to Body Slam, I forgot about that. And then I think I could just go for Rocks here. Yeah, I do. He goes to our model. I'm just gonna go into Landorus Therian here. I can check this thing pretty well. He goes for knockoff, knocking off my lefties. I think I just go for a knockoff of my own. Yeah, kept on my just knocked off my Lodic's leftovers, and I go for U-turn afterwards just to, well, get out of there. Go to Rotom here as he goes for his own U-turn type move and flip turn. Goes into Sylveon. I think I go for Toxic here. Unfortunately, I do miss as he goes for the Wish, and then I just go for Volt Switch here on the off chance he tries to pass the Wish to Mega Glalie, and he does, so I'm just able to take that out. So looking pretty good for me so far. Going to Stitch Lift here as he goes back into Armaldo. I'm obviously not going to stay in, I'm just going to go back to Lando as he goes for knockoff. I think I just start going for Earthquake here, yep, and he goes for Stone Edge, I think. Oh no, he goes for Rocks here. Go for knockoff next turn because Earthquake went into a KO anyways. So he does go for Stone Edge, but unfortunately he does miss. He does suck for it, but it wouldn't have done too much damage. Although it would have mattered in this game. So you'll see later. I just go into Bronzong here as he goes for Boom Burst. Doesn't do too much. I should have realized at this point that the Swellow was not Specs. But we'll get into later. We'll get into that later. So he goes to Zygarde here. As I just go back to training my Rotom Wash on a double. And I first go for Hydro Pump on the off chance that he tries to substitute. Doesn't go for substitute. And then I just go for Toxic afterwards. He goes for second Dragon Dance, which is pretty scary. Yeah. And then he goes for 1,000 Arrows, which obviously will kill me because, very weak to ground. He turns out to be Life Orb though. So goes for 1,000 Arrows again. Yes, so this is where the Stone Edge would have mattered because my Leonard was able to take the 1,000 Arrows because I missed that Stone Edge missed earlier. And I'm just able to go for Earthquake to take it out really quick. Goes for Pidgeot. Okay, I'm getting tricked by these nicknames. But he goes to Swallow to range kill with a Heat Wave. And then, well, here's my blunder. Here where my blunder was. I should have realized that this thing was not Specs because it didn't do enough damage to my Bronzong. And so I went to Beedrill very stupidly. Because if I don't know if it's Specs, it could very clearly be a Scarf. It could be a Scarf Swallow, and then that's what it actually turns out to be. Unfortunately for my opponent, my stupidity did not get punished here as he misses his Heat Wave, and I'm able to go for Poison Jab. And unfortunately, that spells the end of the game because Poison Jab will kill both Sylveon and Milotic at that low percentage. Yeah. Did I deserve this win? I think I would have won, even with that misplay if he landed. I think I calc later, if he wasn't modest, Beedrill wouldn't have even died to Heat Wave. But if he was modest, it was like a 50-50 chance. So, to be fair, even if he did land the Heat Wave, I might have still lived anyways. But still, it was a very stupid idea on my end. To just, like, first off, be very impatient and I didn't, calculate damage against Bronzong, which is very stupid on my part. But yeah, I still got rewarded. I think, like, even if my Beedrill went down, honestly, I think Kyurem would have been able to win afterwards because I would have been able to get a Dragon Dance up, and then Dragon Dance would have definitely, like, I don't know how much. Yeah, so Sylveon would have been at 88%. A +1 Iron Head, I think, has a chance to kill Sylveon if it's not max defense. And then my Milotic was going to be at 34% afterwards. I just needed to get decently lucky with my Icicle Spears. But, even then, like, there's other ways for me to win that game. I still have Sigilif can definitely take Heat Wave and start going for Psyshock or whatever. Or maybe I can go trick the Sylveon on my Scarf, for example. Bronzong could also take Heat Waves for days because it's heat proof. But yeah, for sure, that was a very, very stupid mistake on my end. I think I still would have been able to win, but, very dumb. And I got rewarded for that, so that's, yeah, pretty bad. But yeah, that was the battle. GG to my opponent. Unfortunately, I feel really bad because, he definitely should have been able to get that Heat Wave off, but, yeah, I mean, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. Like how I missed Stone Edge like 2 weeks ago. That shit's still in my head rent free. Okay, anyway. Thanks everybody for watching. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.